There was a French cultural center way back in the late 80s. We would go there sometimes. They would teach French and some of the activities related to French traditions and culture. And of course, French have a history, political history, and history of the modern times as well. They produced great philosophers. And I recall to have watched a movie by Greta Garbo, silent movie, in the French Cultural Center. There used to be a British consul. I do not know where it exists now. And I recall that I had gone there. I was a member. And I had taken uh, two books. One was about Indian history and the other some fiction or literature. Well, I did not return the books. And that's the only thing that all book lovers consider it as their right if they can really steal a book. I'm saying this because I am about to narrate a poem that I had written in 2025. And the poem starts with Rene Kar. I don't know how to pronounce it. I tried it on Google, but I'll be just comfortable with Rene Kar. All Colors is the title of the poem. A few beings are neither in society nor in a state of dreaming. They belong to an isolated fate, to an unknown hope. Their open acts seem anterior to time's first inculpation and to the sky's unconcern. It occurs to no one to imply them. The future melts before their gaze. They are the noblest and the most disquieting. This is just a quotation. And some of my poems they would start with a quotation like that, or in between. That can be considered as intertextuality. I acknowledge that while many authors they don't. They would just put in plain text borrowed from another work. And in the history of literature or writing, or any writing, and especially of literature and history, we see that there had been large passages quoted or taken from someone, or at least the idea that has been taken from an earlier writer. Shakespeare, for example, he uh, quotes Ovid, stories of the ancient times. And it's only about Homer, it is said that he is the original writer. He wrote his epic just from his memory or from and again, I say that there had been a lot of connections between Homer or Greek of those days and Mesopotamia and Egypt. This all was a sort of civilization. They were cradles of civilization, and they had been interchanging ideas, and they had been visiting each other. Uh, for example, Herodotus, he had been visiting all places. So he quotes first-hand sources. Now to the poem, All Colors. Earth and flowers and smiles and eyes, blue skies and sad afternoons, bled tears and hollow gasps, nights touching upon midnights, and the last sigh to breathe in air, and the final body shivers, and the frail body shivers, giving way, giving away life soaked in quiet. We watched, and in suddenness, weightless, the corpse bird only feather. Weightless, the corpse bird only feather of the illusory garment behind every song of sweetness. There was a lament to the unknown. Might that it would be as bright as the soul that winged from the fairy's bosom. It vanishes, the afterthought in the dark maze of reasoning quibbles the cause for us to look upon the mound where lies the once spirited bud. Thus as if dust upon dust is thrown in succession hurriedly, if as if to close upon her beauty all doors, returning to life, breaking the illusions in subversion of all our belief to have spectacle. Again, herein we again celebrate together all color left behind azure and green. Here is my name, Sadiqullah Khan, Peshawar, June 8, 2025. Uh, there is some description of this poem. In my opinion, poems need to be elaborated. They are like a work of art. They have got different interpretations for people coming from different backgrounds, but actually connects with the people. It connects to the soul, rather. It should connect to the soul. I was reading an interview by Mario Vargas Llosa. When he is speaking of his fiction, he says that, well, you may intellectualize or you may give passage of history in a particular passage or in your novel or your, but it's that human thing. It's that feel that takes you above that takes you above your reasoning. Sometimes we get too much into the reasoning, and personally, in my case, I've been more into ideas and into intellectualizing my experiences than honestly portraying what happens. So that's just one way of saying it. Uh, the sublime disquiet of color, a literary analysis of Sadiqullah Khan's All Colors. Abstract. Sadaqullah Khan's poem All Colors is a lyrical meditation on mortality, illusion, and the memory of beauty, inspired by Rain Carr's philosophical prose and imbued with the aesthetic spirit of Rain Margaret. I had actually uploaded this with Rain Margaret art. I like his art, the surrealists. And he is a formal surrealist, unlike Salvador Dali. The poem traverses the symbolic terrains between life and death, appearance and essence. This analysis explores the poem's structural form, thematic range, symbolic imagery, and intertextual resonance with surrealist and metaphysical traditions. Uh, Introduction. The title All Colors invites the reader into a spectrum of life's most vivid sensations. However, the poem's trajectory suggests that color, like life itself, is ultimately relinquished. The accompanying epigraph by French surrealist René Cars situates the work in a metaphysical register, speaking of beings who exist outside societal norms and dream states. These beings are noble and disquieting. Much like the subjects of the poem, a figure suspended between life and death whose departure from the world leaves behind traces that are more spectral. uh, that are more spectral than corporeal. Structure and poetic form. Khan implies free verse with no punctuation, allowing thoughts to flow in a continuous, breathless stream. Well, as far punctuation is concerned, so my first three books, The Voices, Chaos of Being, and Songs of Time, they don't have any punctuation. I was something averse to punctuation. Then in my mid works, in the middle, were three books, then I put in punctuation. And then again, my style was just writing straight, and still is, whole poem without giving any stanzaic break. I would just start writing, may call that as stream of consciousness, maybe, uh, and then ending it. Each line begins with upper crust, and it's hardly like just a small passage. Or I have been also trying on that other side as well, that I called as postmodern poetry. Those are my own definitions because I have never been a student of uh, structural grammatics. Uh, the structural choice uh, destabilizes traditional temporality and logic, aligning with the surrealist demanding of national boundaries. National boundaries. The lack of stanzaic separation and grammatical finality mirrors the speaker's disorientation in the face of mortality. It also replicates the experience of grief and metaphysical contemplation, cyclical recursive and unresolved. Some good words here. Thematic concerns, mortality and transcendence. Death in all colors is not an endpoint but a metamorphosis. The speaker observes the final moments of a fragile life. The frail body shivers, giving away life soaked in quiet. The imagery evokes both the quiet surrender of the physical body and the mystical suggestion of something departing, perhaps. So that's getting more into the depth of the written word while explaining it. The soul is later described as having winged from the fairy's bosom, suggesting a spiritual or mystic ascent that disrupts mundane causality, beauty, and disappearance. There is a central lament for a being of beauty, delicate and ephemeral like a flower. The imagery of the spirited bud, buried under dust upon dust, evokes a sense of loss, compounded by ritual finality. The speaker resists this erasure as if nourishing not just the death of the individual but the annihilation of aesthetic presence itself. The poem became an elegy for beauty extinguished too soon, yet its memory persists as an unresolved tension. I will shift on to uh, ritual and collective mourning. Even the poem is deeply private and contemplative. It circles back to communal experience. The burial is described as hurried and symbolic, as if dust upon dust is thrown in succession hurriedly. The act of mourning becomes a reenactment of belief, not in resolution but in recognition. Stock of colors, including uh, all colors left behind: azure, red, and green, feather, corpse, bird, mountain. But earthly imagery is grounded in burial, but the bud suggests a life force cut short, linking nature's cycles with human ephemerality. Uh, this poem is because of a certain event. I just picked it because it lay on my table for almost a year. I don't do good homework. I like to be spontaneous or unprepared or just being creative, talk and speak. So the poem with its explanation had been there on my table. And it's uh, because of an incident that a young girl from Chitral was brutally murdered. So I relate the poem that way. At the moment, I don't recall the name of the girl. I recall the face of the girl, an innocent girl, as she hailed from Chitral. I personally am very fond of Chitral because of its basicness. its nature and the beauty over there. Uh, I don't know what was the name of that. I don't recall. So here it's another phenomena that someone who or certain incident that would engage you so much at intellectual level, and then you might be thinking that, well, then what was the name? Hmm. Intertextual context. Renkar's epigraph lends philosophical gravity to the beings he describes outside of society and dream anticipate the costly, disclosed subject of Khan's verse. They are timeless, unplaceable, and yet more real in their metaphysical isolation than in society. There lies, not only are that they are dreamless, but they are forgotten as. So this very poem and this very explanation, this is not simply theatrical, but this actually demonstrates what has been written, described by Rene. Rene Carr's surrealism, particularly the works like Le Beau Monde, haunts the visual register of the poem, Margaret's tendency to subvert ordinary appearance, a night sky within a man's head, for example, equals the Khan's use of symbolic disjunction. The reader sees the beauty of the soul's winging away, but is simultaneously faced with the coldness of the burial mound. The tension is not resolved, it is foregrounded. Conclusion. Sadiqullah Khan's All Colors is a work of poetic and philosophical resonance. Through a unique blend of surreal imagery, metaphysical themes, and elegiac tone, the poem explores what remains when life ends, not meaning, not resolution, but fragments, colors, memories, and the disquiet of something too beautiful to fully understand. It stands in the meaningful dialogue with the poetic and artistic traditions it evokes, offering readers a profound encounter with a sublime unease of existence. That was all about all colors. I hope you enjoyed my conversation on the poem's background, and how uh, actually the form and the poem uh, unfolded while I was reading it. So that's the beauty of poetry or literature or prose or theater, that you become a part of that. So it's not that you are detached from that. And since we are humans, we have all the tendency of stopping somewhere, of not being able to explain, or just abandoning it as an idea in between, and then revisiting it at certain later time. This is how creative process takes place. Thank you very much for being with me.